You were raised in a world that doesn't exist anymore. Not slightly different, completely gone. It was built by people who had already seen things fall apart. War, scarcity, uncertainty that didn't come with warnings. So when they got the chance to rebuild, they didn't focus on comfort. They focused on stability. And you grew up inside that system. A system where nobody followed you around. Nobody scheduled your time. Nobody explained every rule. You didn't call your mom from a play date. You just didn't come home until the streetlights came on, and she wasn't worried. That was the whole system, and it worked. Nobody scheduled your summers. Nobody drove you somewhere to play. You walked out the front door after breakfast, and whatever happened between then and the streetlights was yours to figure out. The bike, the vacant lot 3 blocks over, the creek behind the school that everyone's parents had technically told them to stay away from. You went anyway. You came back dirty and tired, and nobody asked for a full report. You ate whatever was on the table, and that was Thursday. Look, there's something that forms inside a kid who grows up like that. Not confidence the way people talk about it now. Not the performed kind. Not the kind you build with affirmations. Something that didn't need a pat on the back. The knowledge in your body that you can handle what's in front of you without waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to try. You learned that early. On the playground, mostly. Iron bars, asphalt, a metal slide that would take skin off your palm in July. No rubber padding underneath. If you fell, you hit the ground. You checked the damage, decided if it was serious, and got back in line or went home. Your call, your read. No adult rushed over to process the moment with you. Pain was just information. You got the message and moved on. That calibration stayed. Decades later, when something goes wrong, the first instinct is still the same. Assess, adjust, keep going. Not gonna lie, that's not something you learned in a classroom. That just got built into you. Your parents weren't soft about any of it, but here's the thing, they weren't cold either. They were raised by people who had known actual hunger, not as a metaphor. The cupboard was empty and nobody was coming. So when those people became parents, love looked different. Love looked like a roof that didn't leak. Love looked like your father showing up to the same job for 30 years without complaint. Love looked like dinner on the table at 6 o'clock every single night. Your mother didn't ask how you felt about your day. She asked if you were hungry. And you knew, even if you couldn't have said it then, that the question meant something. But the rules were real, and they didn't require explanation. You knew which neighbor's yard you didn't cut across. You knew what happened if you showed out in public and somebody's parents saw it. Every adult on that street had quiet authority over every kid on it. Nobody organized it. It was just understood. Mrs. Rachel's 3 houses down knew your parents' names before she knew yours. And if you did something you shouldn't have, she didn't need a policy or a meeting. She just told you to knock it off, and you did. Because authority wasn't institutional back then. It was personal. It was everywhere. You couldn't behave one way at home and a different way down the block. Your reputation followed you on foot. There was no escaping your own character. It was public. That shaped something in you that most people in your generation still carry. Consistency. You're the same person at work that you are at home. You don't have a professional version and a private one. What you are is what you are. And that came from growing up somewhere where everyone already knew the difference. The television was wood-paneled and heavy and sat in the corner of the living room like furniture that mattered. You sat too close to it, and somebody always told you to back up. Saturday mornings were yours. Cereal in a bowl, cartoons, volume low enough that you didn't wake anyone up. The week had a shape, and you didn't need anyone to schedule it for you. Then, one ordinary school day, the loudspeaker came on, and the classroom went completely still. Your teacher's hand went to her mouth, and for the first time in your life, the adults in the room didn't have the next instruction ready. The president was dead. The TV stayed on for days, not for entertainment, not for distraction, just because something hadn't settled yet. You were old enough to understand what it meant, and young enough to have no framework for it. So you watched the adults. You watched them grieve without collapsing. You watched your father eat dinner and not say much. And without anyone explaining it, you understood. This is what you do. You carry it, and you keep going. And it wasn't just once. That's the part people don't say enough. It happened again and again. The balcony in Memphis, the kitchen in Los Angeles, cities on fire, soldiers in the streets. 3 assassinations before you finished high school. Each time, the adults lost their footing for a minute, and then they found it again, and life resumed. You watched that cycle so many times that something settled into you permanently. The understanding that the world could shatter on a Sunday, and Monday still came. You didn't come out of that cynical. You came out of it knowing something. Seasoned is the right word. You'd seen how it plays out. You already knew. The duck and cover drills were just part of the week. You got under the desk, laced your fingers behind your neck, and waited for the all clear. You knew what it was for. You understood there were weapons that could level a city, and that the desk above you wasn't a real defense. And still, when the bell rang, you picked up your pencil, because Thursday kept being Thursday, and there wasn't another option. You learned to carry the unthinkable as background noise. Most people never have to develop that. You didn't have a choice. Let's be real about failure, too, because that's where your generation got built differently. You missed the shot, didn't make the team, raised your hand, got it wrong in front of everybody, and then nothing. No intervention, no reframe, no one sat with you afterward to protect your self-image. You walked home with it, replayed it, figured out where you went wrong, and by the next morning, it was done. The sun came up, your friends still wanted to play, life had already moved on, and eventually you caught up. Failure wasn't a verdict, it was information. You took what was useful and kept going. I mean, that's the thing. Nobody handed you that framework. You built it by living inside the consequence long enough that it stopped feeling like punishment and started feeling like data. The cultural shift came, and you felt it before anyone named it. A sound on the radio that didn't belong to your parents' world. Hair that made adults visibly uncomfortable at the dinner table. Rules that had always seemed permanent starting to bend in real time, right there in the living room while your father shook his head and changed the channel. You didn't think it was right. You didn't think it was wrong. You just recognized something. Change had arrived, and it hadn't asked permission. You get what I'm saying? You'd already watched the world reinvent itself through grief, through crisis, through things nobody had a name for yet. So when the culture shifted, you adapted. Not because you were chasing the new thing, because you'd already learned that clinging only makes the shift harder. I've seen how that plays out. Most people your age had too. What all of that built, the structure, the accountability, the unfiltered consequence, the quiet exposure to instability, was a very specific kind of adult. Reliable, self-contained, capable under pressure, installed through experience, not assembled through effort. And there's a cost to that. Asking for help still feels vaguely like weakness. Saying something is hard sits uncomfortably close to complaining. Slowing down brings a guilt that nothing on the outside is generating anymore. You've carried things quietly so long, the carrying started to feel like identity. And now the world reads that as distance, reads silence as absence, measures presence by how much you're willing to explain yourself. But you were never built for explaining. You were built for showing up, for doing what needed doing, for being the same person in every room, whether anyone was watching or not. I don't know, man. That chapter might be closing. The world you were prepared for has changed more than once since then, and you adapted, every time, without applause, without a transition plan, without anyone acknowledging what it cost. Your past proving anything, done with that. But somewhere underneath all of it, the competence, the self-sufficiency, the decades of carrying what needed carrying, there's still the kid who got up off the asphalt, checked the damage, and decided it wasn't enough to stop for. That kid didn't go anywhere. If you recognize that kid in yourself, you're in good company. Hit subscribe for more honest looks into the psychology of the generation we turned out to be. And drop something in the comments. Tell me about the neighborhood you ran around in, or the first moment you realized the adults didn't have the answers either. Put your history on the record. I read every single one.